Welcome back to VIP Sportsnet. Today we are talking about college football. We talked about in our last segment about the outcomes of the games. We are now going to be talking about the games coming up this weekend. Jim, who do you have? I know you want to talk about Florida State and Virginia. Jim, what do you see in this game?
I just see more of the same. I mean, Virginia was an 8-5 team last year, and Florida State was 5-7. Florida State's 1-1 right now. Virginia's 2-0. Virginia's at least 7.5 point favorites playing at home. Florida State's a dumpster fire, man.
Oh, yeah.
I hate to say that. I mean, they were the most consistent team for like 20 years. Finishing in the top 5 every year.
I mean, Florida State lost to Boise State first game off, 36-31. Coach saying that it was athletic department's issue because the players are having cramps. They come back. They only win by 1 point against Louisiana Monroe. And that's a team that you should dominate every game if you're Florida State.
Yeah,
and then Virginia coming in at 2-0, beating Pittsburgh first game off on the road, then beating William Mary 52-17. I mean, but this should be a good game for Virginia. This is the first road game for Florida State. They're saying they tighten up the line. All can tell what's going to happen.
Yeah, their offensive line's supposed to be a little better, but this is going to be a good test going up against Virginia's defensive line. They can really get after you up front, and it's just sad to see this. And Coach Willie Taggart is on the hot seat. And if they lose this one, he might not make it through the season because of just how inept they were last year. Everybody saw that picture of the Florida State wide receiver this week. Turned around facing the wrong direction, even though he went into motion on that. I mean, that just was like a microcosm of their program right now. It's just totally inept. And they have the athletes because they recruit well.
Right, and it all leads back to their head coach. And if he can't lead them to winning the games, you're going to be the first one out. It should be a good game. What other game do you have you want to talk about?
I want to talk about Iowa versus Iowa State. I really like to talk about these interstate rivals, so that's one I want to look at a little bit. I'm really looking forward to Iowa's little trip down to Ames, Iowa to play Iowa State. This is going to be a fun one. Iowa is 2-0, and Iowa State's 1-0, and they survived a scare. Iowa's ranked 19th. Iowa's a 2-point favorite, but Iowa lost a lot of talent to the NFL draft last year. They lost a lot of people, and they got a long-established coach there, Kirk Ferentz, but man, Matt Campbell at Iowa State he is the guy. I mean, I think he would have already left if he didn't have such a huge buyout, but this one's going to be a big one, because it's going to be hard because they don't have, they lost a running back last year to the NFL draft, so he was a huge difference maker. So,
and I actually had Iowa State 13th in our top 20 pick.
You had Iowa State 13th?
Yes.
Whoa.
Iowa has won 4 straight years against the Cyclones. This is the first road game for Iowa, but this is also the first time that ESPN Game Day
is going to be there.
Since 1993 that debuted. But Iowa owns a record, 44 wins and 22 losses.
Yeah.
So this is a 67th match against each other, and that's always a good rivalry. You don't know what's going to pop up. One year it could be high scoring, one could be good defense. That's one game I'm looking forward to, not just because, it's Iowa State, but it's just the environment for ESPN to be there. That is a very good hype.
Home game.
State. Yes.
But, Matt Campbell, I mean, he is a real highly sought after coach. He's really high thought of right now. And, they gave up a lot of points in their first game. I mean, let's be real here. This isn't the defense you've been seeing over the last 2 or 3 years since Campbell got there. I mean, and a lot of that has to do with a lot of his guys have been leaving steadily for the NFL. But they say you make your biggest strides between your first and second game. Well, Iowa's already played 2 games, so Iowa State they better improve or they're going to get waxed on this one because these. Iowa always has rugged players. They always have a bunch of unheralded guys that somehow always find their way to the NFL. Their defensive linemen in the NFL is ridiculous. So Last year, they had two tight ends go in the draft. I'm looking forward to this. It's gonna be a fun one. Me being a Big 12 fan, of course, I'm gonna be rooting for Iowa State.
And I will be too. I mean, I have them high, I have them ranked, like I said, 13th in my pick. So
And they were a win team last year too.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this USC versus BYU. USC's going on the road. They're 2-0, going to play BYU, who's 1-1, right?
1-1.
Coming off that big win last week in Tennessee.
In overtime, yep.
So,
BYU has to do some things to win the game, and their special teams do not kick the ball to Verishorin Jr. He ran a 100-yard return to Fresno.
Velus Jones
and
is just...
USC has a big passing air raid going on. USC has a defense that always
they always have athletes.
Yes.
USC's having athletes is never the problem. But since former Texas Tech quarterback Graham Harrell showed up to replace other former Texas Tech quarterback who's now with the Cardinals, he has just brought life to that offense. That freshman kid, that Keaton Davis, he leads the nation in completion percentage, 82.9 completion percentage. Freshman. Crazy. Stephen Carr, their running back, is averaging 7.4 yards per carry. They're formidable.
Yeah.
That air raid, if you're not used to it, boy, it can get on you quick.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about tempo.
And one thing behind the scenes of USC, you had Lynn Swann that resigned.
Yeah.
And
I don't know how much the players pay attention to that, but maybe.
And there's rumors of 4 AD directors, possibly one from Baylor, Washington, Kentucky, and Bentonville might be up for the AD job. So just something to think about if you're a USC alumni fan. You kind of keep an eye on, but that game should be really good.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be high scoring.
Do you really? You think it is?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it'll be high scoring from USC standpoint.
Yeah,
But can BYU keep pace? BYU on defenses, their athletes just aren't going to match up. So they got to play correct assignment, and they have got to be disciplined. And their secondary better tackle. They better wrap up. But the key there is going to be staying with the schemes. Every man do his own job. Don't over pursue. Wrap up. Don't be trying to blow guys up. Get your arms around them. Get them on the ground, because these USC receivers can run like cheetahs. They are
quick and they're fast,
just prolific. And with that quarterback, they may have to run some kind of games up front, some stunts, delayed blitzes, kind of things to get in his head. Change the coverages, disguise cover 2 to go to man, just whatever they can to try to get in this kid's head. Because right now, man, he is just lighting it up.
Right.
I'd hate to be facing that guy right now.
What's another game you like to see, you want to talk about?
How about Michigan State versus Arizona State? I'm ready for the Arizona State traveling to East Lansing to play Michigan State. Last year, Arizona State come back in the fourth quarter to slip in and win that game in the last few moments, and that has just left a bitter pill in Coach Mark D'Antoni's team, man. So this year, a lot of personnel has changed. Injuries. Going into this game, Arizona State is a 14.5 point underdog. Go ahead.
One thing about Michigan State, so far this year, they've scored 79 points, 885 total yards. Their defense is only getting up 24 points, 344 total yards, and negative 6 yards in rushing.
Yeah, it's funny because they're the number one rushing defense, and Arizona State is the 95th ranked rushing offense. And not only that, Arizona State's also 111th in tackles for losses. So they're not going to be able to run the ball. And they got 2 freshman offensive linemen starting. They got their center and guard both. They're freshmen going up against that front.
Michigan State has all starting players returning from from last year on there. And there are
defense is stacked.
Yes, so Herm Edwards had some work to do to this next game, and I feel sorry for Arizona State.
I do too.
I mean, it's not going to be pretty. I'll say it that way.
I don't think it will either. I think this could be a rout. I mean, because Arizona State's undefeated, right?
Mm-hmm. And so is Michigan State.
You're traveling that far. You have a team that far west coming east to play. Usually it's a little rougher on them, but I look for Michigan State to handle up on business on this one pretty easy. Herm Edwards, once he gets out there and face these boys, he's going to be, wow, I came back for this. Should have stayed in the TV booth because this one could get ugly quick, and I think that Michigan State will be able to inflict their will on them.
And what's another game you like coming up this Saturday?
I've got another rivalry game. I'm a sucker for those. We got Pitt going to Beaver Valley to play Penn State. This one looks like it's going to be ugly too. Penn State's 17-point favorite.
The only highlight of this is the 100th time they played against each other.
Right.
It's just kind of interesting numbers. I'm looking at Pitt is 1-1. They average 17 points and 92.5 yards
rushing.
Yeah, rushing.
Passing, right.
And Penn State 2-0, average 62 points.
Yeah.
And
17 points versus 62 points.
And passing 310
yards versus 92.5.
It's really bad when you're looking at the game and there's a poll in a Pittsburgh paper that's asked if the spread is not enough for Penn State to win.
Yeah. So it's only 17 points, but that goes back to it being a rivalry game.
Right.
I mean, some of these other games we're talking about,
they're saying 50% of people say that they need to raise the point spread up because it's just not fair.
Yeah, like I said, it's a rivalry game. Anything can happen. But, Oklahoma, UCLA is a 23-point spread. Alabama, South Carolina is a 25-point spread. Clemson, Syracuse, a 27-point spread. And this one's only 17.
And that might even happen the first 2 scores.
First 3 times they touch the ball.
Yeah.
This Pitt is kind of hapless, but James Franklin just seems to he's really, to follow a legend, he's been pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
He's took over for O'Brien, who took over for Joe Pa. So coming in that soon, I like what Franklin's done there. I mean, these boys are rugged. They are just, but they lost their backfield last year.
Right.
They lost their running back in the second round, and the quarterback got drafted pretty high as well. So this one might get ugly. Just looking at this, points allowed 20 points versus 10 points, scoring differential 17 points versus 62. That's
a big difference. That is going to be. I mean, it's going to be filled with Penn State fans, which is great because if this was in Pittsburgh, it would be.
Yeah,
I feel sorry for them. Unless they surprise us, you never know.
Yeah.
But
I just think back when I was a kid, watching Penn State beat them 10 years in a row,
mm-hmm.
and then 75, 76, Tony Dorsett comes in for Pitt, rushes for 224 yards and beat them and go on and wins the national championship. And then you go a few more years to 1983, and you got 2 first-round quarterbacks, Dan Marino versus Todd Blackledge,
right,
battling it out, man. That's kind of what I grew up, and it's just tough to see Pitt on such hard times. Penn State looks like they're back, even though they're in a more rugged conference than they used to be. This one's going to be a blowout.